Yes, ma'am, sure. Just a minute. Hello and good evening to everyone present over here. We're extremely grateful to your presence. I heartily welcome all of you who have joined us. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed scholar and distinguished guests, and fellow enthusiasts of English literature and language. Our distinct pleasure to welcome all of you in the virtual international conference on future human digital frontiers in Posthumanist Discourse, a two-day intellectual voyage conducted by All India Forum for English Students, Scholars, and Trainers, AIFEST. This is our plenary session 1, and we welcome Dr. Kalyani Vallath here. To briefly introduce about ma'am, she is the Managing Director, Edupreneur, Chief Instructor, Mentor at Vallath Education, founder of Bodhi Publications and E-ProF. Ma'am is a certified NET with JRF in English literature in 1999, embarked on an academic journey that would redefine traditional education. Driven by a passion for English literature, ma'am's unique teaching style and infectious enthusiasm quickly garnered attention. Standing out from the confines of traditional academia, she effortlessly weaves playfulness into discussions on authors, texts, and concepts, captivating learners nationwide. Recognizing the needs of the cybernetic generation, she developed innovative study resources that have benefited both beginners and advanced students alike. Her 25 years of teaching experience have honed her expertise in literary history, literary theory, and literary analysis. Her distinctive charm resonates with students, making even the most tedious lessons a source of laughter and joy. Beyond traditional teaching methods, ma'am also adopts unconventional resource development approaches, fostering a holistic learning environment, and by equipping students with the skills necessary for diverse careers, she not only nurtures their academic growth, but also empowers them for professional world. And the topic that ma'am will be discussing today is combating war model education in the post-human scenario, ideas that work. It is a request to all the participants that you may post your questions in the chat box while ma'am is delivering her lecture. And you all will get a chance to ask the questions after she has spoken. And you are kindly requested to stay on mute while the session goes on to avoid any sort of disturbance. We request all our participants to stay till the end. Over to you, ma'am. Welcome.
Thank you, Subhranshu. That was a very generous introduction that you gave me. It is my great pleasure to be with you today to talk about future and what we are. Well, talk about research, talk about the exams that we write, the professions that we embark on. Ultimately, it's all about ourselves. It is about becoming a better society and a better world. So, like always, here in my presentation also, I will be touching upon our realities, our lives, and our aspirations. I'm sharing my screen. I have titled my presentation, Combating War Model Education in the Post-Human Scenario. This is a title that points at some important aspects that we are going through. The pressure and the terror and the challenges. And I have titled it Ideas That Work. I will talk more about the title in the course of this talk and also towards the end. Now, the whole conference is about post-humanism. Post-humanism is, like all post-discourses, about something that went before humanism. Humanism was the most wonderful thing that happened to us at that time, because humanism resolved a lot of problems at that moment of history. Humanism was a solution to the traumas and the trials and injustices that human beings suffered from at the beginning of the Renaissance and in the late medieval period. But like all discourses, humanism also went hand in hand with its own critique. Even from the beginnings of humanism, you can see that there has been a post-human in existence in the sense of critique of humanism and what lies beyond the human. We see in Renaissance literature, for example, a lot of non-human entities, the ghosts in Macbeth or any of the ghosts in Shakespeare, the manifestations of the human mind and the terrors of human existence in the form of some supernatural entities. That is also one early example of post-humanism. Even though today we connect post-human mostly with technology. Now, there was a lot of satire and critique of the human existence in books like Anatomy of Melancholy or Utopia or any of the classics you can think about. The classics are classics because of the critique that they did of our existence, which has a perennial, enduring effect. And after this, we moved on to the postmodern period and then the transhumanist period, and now the post-humanist period. All these are large terms that actually attempt to understand back in the 18th century, we placed the human being along with gods, along with the universe and its various manifestations, such as in the great chain of being, the idea of the great chain of being. We see that human being is part of a whole massive network, starting from God and the angels, going down to the minerals. So everything that, all the discourses that we have initiated and we have thrived on are ultimately about, in many ways, ourselves. What is this recent transhumanism and post-humanism that we are talking about? We have, in the past 50 years or so, a lot of proliferation of science fiction and technological interference in our novels and movies. And this transhumanism, or this phase that it is called, is a way of enhancing the human, going beyond the average human, looking at what human beings cannot do and trying to find solutions for it. So the transhuman is a way of negotiating with our limitations, negotiating with our mistakes and problems, we can say, and trying to understand what lies beyond the limitations of the human. We can see that even in transhumanist discourses like science fiction that I mentioned, there are lots of ways in which the human is questioned. So it is also, in a way, a critique of humanism. And the technological enhancement of human capabilities came with the coming of the internet and all the changes that happened in our discourses because of these technological advancements that has been exponentially growing. And then we have the post-human phase. In the post-human phase, we understand that the human being is no longer the center of the world, but not in the sense of going beyond our capabilities and enhancing our capabilities, but more in the sense of cohabiting the world with the non-human. The non-human can be machine, the non-human can be animals. So that is why in the post-humanist discourses, we have animal studies, we have all kinds of machine studies, we have data feminism. Every aspect of the human life has now become in some way connected to the what is the non-human, and we are trying to peacefully coexist with the non-human in many ways. And this also it connects with, it touches upon discourses like environmentalism, because on the one hand, when we talk about machine, on the other hand is nature and the environment. So new ways of understanding the environment, new ways of understanding the society, new ways of understanding even education or politics or media or any of the discourses which we inhabit. And as needless to say, as we all know, it is an age of cloning, of genetic engineering, of organ transplants, and all the ways in which we are technologically trying to solve our problems. How we can live a longer life, how we can remember more or learn more or experience more deeply, how we can enhance our human life in many ways. And that transhumanism has merged into posthumanism, and this enhanced human being is now living in the context of all the other non-human entities of the universe. That is common knowledge. It is just by way of introduction that I'm saying this. And the posthuman is a blend in experience. We know that the posthuman is a blend of the actual and the virtual, because technology gives us experiences that are beyond our understanding, that are beyond our normal level of human intelligence or human capability. And this is a world where you can access a sublime level of existence through the use of technology, maybe in a roller coaster, or when you're watching a Hollywood movie, or when you use some of the other technological enhancement devices in the media industry, etc. So this is a time when we are in a process of extending beyond ourselves, coming through the transhuman. We are extending beyond ourselves, and we are in the process of becoming something else, maybe. Because starting from Darwin, we know that human being is in an evolutionary stage. Human being is a chain, is a link in a chain of evolution. So this is a process. This is a process in which we are trying to come to terms with what lies around us. And this posthuman is, in a way, I'm quoting Arnold, caught between two worlds, one dead and the other powerless to be born. Because the human is our reality. The human is what we are, because if you cut your finger, it still bleeds. If you hit your toe, it still hurts. The human is the real. The post-human, or like the global, is virtual in many ways. The human is the real, the local is the real, the indigenous is the real, and the global, the transnational, the post-human is the virtual. So we are caught between two worlds, one real and the other virtual. We are not happy with our reality, and we are continuously negotiating with that virtual reality that we want to belong to. And in this context, there is a very interesting concept of post-human suffering. And I'm slowly bringing my talk towards post-human education. And, we are all research scholars. We are all struggling to understand texts. And those who are moving about, can you please switch off your videos? Yeah. Will you sit down somewhere and then switch on the video? That is not an issue, because otherwise it's distracting me. That's all. Sorry for that. So this is a world where we're all trying to cope with our existence, our realities, which for us, all of us, has to do with education. What is post-human suffering? Human beings are incapable of knowing themselves or mastering their environment except through technology. Can you know what is inside your body? Can you know what is there in the region that you are living? Except unless you use the satellite camera, unless you use Google, you cannot really know. You cannot view of what is happening in this world around us. We cannot know what is inside our body except through technology. These are two small basic examples. There are multifarious ways in which technology is helping us to be human. We are living because of all the medical technology and all the technology that is there around us. Otherwise, we would have died. We would have perished. So to be human, we are depending so much on technology. And without technology, not only can we not know ourselves, we cannot even exist. That is the condition these days. It is very interesting to know how the discourse of death has changed of late. I don't know if you have noticed, but death has become so much institutionalized. Death has become so much commodified. There is even something called death studies. What is happening is when you fall ill or when you become old, especially in the multinational cities, in the metropolises, etc., the hospitals just take over. You cannot, suffer pain or the normal suffering that we have in our lives of pain, of sorrows, etc. We don't experience these days because technology numbs us. When we feel sad, we don't cry, we don't process our sadness. We just take refuge in technology. When we are in pain, we take refuge in technology. So what we are kind of ceasing to experience what is human, because we prioritize the virtual, the post-human beyond what is human. That is the one side of it. The other side is that technology completes us. Without technology, I will not be able to speak to you. You will not be able to do research. You will not be able to do most of the, the human beings, whatever they are achieving in this world will not come without technology. So post-human suffering is the knowledge that we are incomplete and inadequate without technology. We all know that if suddenly the technology that we use, a laptop or a mobile phone or a refrigerator or a washing machine or any of these things are so much part of us that once we start using them, you cannot stop using them. You become dependent on them. So you know that there is a capitalistic edge to it. Human beings are not turning naturally into post-human. These needs of technology are thrust upon us also. It is not our natural need. It is that we are made to believe that we should use these technologies, that it is an incomplete life without these technologies. That is also there. And in education, technology obviously has a lot of positive effects. One is the access to exponentially growing knowledge. So much knowledge across the world is at our fingertips. That is also why research is burgeoning these days. Everybody is doing research because it is easy to do research. You can just go online, just take whatever you want, read it, either copy it or understand it and rewrite it. Or it has become so much more commodified, this concept of research. It was such an intellectual, personal, philosophical, reflective activity in the past. But since the time I have done research, I have started research because that was the age of globalization. Globalized media and technologies have completely transformed research and education. Technology gives us the means of storing, processing, analyzing knowledge. All these are just quick insights that I've given here by way of introduction. My main ideas are just coming after this because all this will be connected there. And post-human society understands that it is impossible to have education without technology, because technology is all about expression and communication. Before a year or two, we were all using PowerPoint presentations and other apps, etc., to convey our ideas. Now we are also using AI. Now the experience of the human is multifold changing because of the use of artificial intelligence, as we all know. So it is good, because even though all of us may critique it at some point, we all use it because it is a wonderfully attractive way of expressing and knowing knowledge and processing it and communicating. We do that all the time in education as well as in other facets of our life. And lastly, what does technology give us? Speed. Today, we have reached a stage when we have become so productive. Every day you can learn new things, and at breakneck speed, professors can write papers or books. Even everything has become so fast. People who are not keeping up with that pace in which the world is growing are left behind, sadly, because nobody is going to stop for us. There is so much of everything happening everywhere at breakneck speed, at supersonic speed. You will be amazed to read about at what speed China is making universities. The universities coming up in China, so many developments in education across the world, and every minute, even as I speak, new discourses, new theoretical areas are coming up. Haven't you noticed in the past few months, we have heard so many new words, terms related to theory and research, because whether we realize it or not, education around us, the post-human educational scenario around us is growing at an unbelievable speed. Now, is that good or bad? We always think that speed is good. We will all be happier if we could do things faster, because speed is something we all desire to have. Even when you say, I am a slow person, you are thinking that it would have been better if you were a little faster. But as we all know, speed has its disadvantages also. And it's politics also, not only disadvantages, but also politics. What is this politics of speed? That is where I am coming to Paul Virilio. Paul Virilio is a very important theorist these days, who has talked about the city as being made on the model of warfare. Paul Virilio has written about it, the war model city. And he theorized the interconnection between speed, technology, and war. As you might expect, Paul Virilio is European. He is a French writer living in who lived in the thick of, he died recently in 2018. He lived in the thick of all the developments that happened in the European world, the Western world. And he developed a new concept of the modern city, relating it to the speed, technology, and war. There is one of his works, the Speed and Politics, essay on dromology, where Paul Virilio analyzes this war model city. Dromology is a term that he developed in the context of this warfare, war-based city. He analyzes the importance of accelerated speed, how accelerated speed turns us into post-human, if you want to say it like that, how accelerated speed makes us more productive in many ways. At the same time, it creates an artificial world where it is very difficult for us to inhabit, and it has its own politics, because this speed, the concept of speed and technologies of motion, the concept of mobility is all ultimately, according to Virilio, based on the reality of warfare. War is a reality of this world that we are not on, in this part of the world, we are not on an everyday basis familiar with. Because thankfully, a lot of wars are not happening in our side of the world. Whereas in some other parts of the world, it is a very traumatic reality. It is shocking to realize that many of our technologies, including internet, are developed in the context of warfare. And war is the biggest industry in the world. The arms and ammunition industry is, in a way, what rules the world. It is what requires maximum financial support. The maximum money flow is there, and the power centers are also there. America and its involvement in war in the past century, in the second half of the 20th century, is a case in point. So here, Virilio is talking about how the postmodern world or the post-human world is deeply related to these ideas related to war. And he calls it the dromology or dromocratic revolution. How innovations in speed influence social and political life. That is what he talks about. Here in the war model society, where we are all living in a breakneck speed, culture is changing. education is changing, politics is changing. There is more disorder, there is more anarchism. People are always on the move. And this is what many theorists have foretold of the future. In the studies of the future, futurism or futuristic studies or futures theories, many discourses have developed in the past relating to futures. Everybody has had in cultural studies, which is deeply leftist, everybody has had a rather traditionally a rather negative and paranoid view of the futures, where we have Deleuze and Guattari, or Marshall McLuhan, or Jean Baudrillard, or Slavoj Žižek, etc., who talk about the fear and paranoia that future entails us. And Virilio especially relates it to the representations of this city and the representations of the human being in cinema also. War is related to cinema and analyzed in Virilio. Now, let me go a little deeper into the war model city. He shows that the city and all its institutions, including education or religion or politics or economics, all have ultimately military origins. And if you think of it, even Nietzsche has talked about how Christianity, in his genealogical study of Christianity, he has talked about how Christianity emerged from its conflict, from the conflict of the weaker people with their rulers. And the values of the weaker people, like submission, like suffering, these have been understood as greater values compared to the values of the rulers, like power or authority. So it is conflict that has led to development of humanity in many ways, and that too military conflict. And he even uses the example of churches as fortified defense. In Trivandrum, there is a very interesting example. That is why I put temples, even though Virilio did not talk about temples. There's a very interesting example of the Padmanabha Swami temple, which used to be the refuge of the Travancore king. Travancore is the region where we live. And traditionally, the churches and the temples will not be attacked by the enemies of the same religion. So when local enemies came and attacked Travancore, they would take refuge in the Padmanabha Swami temple. We used to know that as history, but some years ago, it was discovered that in the cellars of the Padmanabha Swami temple, there is so much wealth and maybe weapons and God knows what, because literally God in the temple will know. Nobody else knows, because it is a temple and it is a very famous temple and you cannot dig under it and you cannot go inside it and see also. And it is also put under lock and key by the government. So it was a military fortress in a way, rather than just a temple. So religion was always connected with power and war and politics, as we know from history. And in a very interesting way, Virilio shows that the city and its institutions have military origins. And this is also related to the city life in the streets, in the streets where people are moving about and they are buying things, and everyday life in the streets is lived out. There also city life lies. We have pictures of, I did not put any pictures in this presentation. I should have maybe the pictures of the city that painters have drawn and photographers have documented. The spectacle of the street is a very important concept in this regard. The spectacle of the street, where you can also relate it to Guy Debord's concept of the spectacle, the traffic of the people, the progressions and movements and events, the conflicts and debates and lessons. In this context, I would like to remember the city of Bath in the UK, where lots of people used to come and they used to, do their transactions. They used to do a lot of undercover things, maybe. Like that, so many cities are there. For example, in Ibsen's Enemy of the People, the city where people's life is so much tied to the bath. That is the theme of Enemy of the People. And when these baths are declared to be polluted, the people cannot take it, because it is in the streets that their life is. It is in that public bath that their life is. That is at the other side of the city. Isn't it so much related to, aspects of education? That is what I'm coming to eventually. And this overexposed city is penetrated by media and advertising, by information technology, representations of all kinds, manipulations. There it is, according to Virilio, overexposed. Guy Debord talked about the spectacle, the society of the spectacle, where for us everything is a spectacle in this overwhelming urban space and life. And if you take a look at this slide, every single point seems to remind me, at least, of education, which I will explain in the next slide also. There is so much of the spectacle in education. We have to show that we know. We have to show that we are good writers, that we are knowledgeable people. We are all desperately trying to groom ourselves so that we can belong to this crowd that is out there. We are desperately wandering in search of research topics and guidance and opportunities to present or publish papers. Desperately in need of opportunities to put ourselves out there. In such a war footing, we are preparing ourselves for something called the future. The war model city can be compared to the war model education. That is what I'm coming to. Power knowledge, as Foucault termed it, is growing exponentially. And we have no way, like war, it's multiplying, it's ubiquitous, it's everywhere. Like imagine the Second World War, everywhere there was bombing, everywhere people were suffering and struggling and dying. And here, power knowledge is growing exponentially. As I was telling you, every day, so many new disciplines coming into being. I don't even know whether we need all these disciplines. Like critical planned studies is there, security studies is there, peace studies is there, critical disaster studies is there about disasters, death studies is there, conflict studies is there, suicide studies is there. These are some of the new studies that we have not yet explored very much. So why do we have to lay out our society, our life like a patient etherized upon the table? Why do we have to dissect this body so closely? Why do we have to voyeuristically look at every single aspect of the society? Because knowledge is no longer a simple, straightforward thing in this post-human education. Knowledge is a complex assemblage, to use a term by Deleuze and Guattari. Knowledge is a complex assemblage, like weapons. Weapons are not simple things. You have to use very complicated weapons in order to defeat your enemies. Like that, the knowledges have become our weapons. The knowledges that we yield have become our weapons, very complicated weapons with which we are waging this war called education. And one good side of it is that knowledge today is no longer the prerogative of the center or the universities. The universities are no longer holding knowledge within themselves. It is everywhere because of the internet. Every one of us has access to knowledge. Every one of us can write papers and develop theories also if you want. But the other side of it is that we are all constantly under pressure, and knowledge has become, look at our exams, look at our curriculum. It has become so undemocratic. Take, for example, NET exam that I prepare students for. There are so many people, the majority of people in India do not have access to that exam easily, because that exam is elitist in the sense that many students in India are passing English literature, for example, without knowing the subject properly, without knowing language properly, without reading properly. And it is not their fault. It is the socio-political conditions in which they live, the economic conditions from which they emerge that makes them what they are. But we all have to fight for that one exam that we have to pass, and it makes it like war. There is so much conflict. Everything is based only on performance, like war. In war also, it doesn't matter who you are, what your moral position is, whether you are good or bad, it doesn't matter. It only matters how you perform, how you can wield your weapons, isn't it? And these weapons are in the form of exams, the jobs that we aspire for, and also our race, class, and gender. These are all becoming weapons against us. You know, people of some class cannot ever pass this exam because exam requires a lot of money to prepare for. People of some gender cannot study because they have things, they do not get access to education. They have too many non-academic things to do in their daily lives. So it is not a very simple and democratic world. We are like in war. Remember Septimus Warren Smith in Mrs. Dalloway? He was suffering from shell shock. When you are fighting in the war, you are traumatized. There is a PTSD syndrome that develops in you. And like that in the educational scenario, there is so much rootlessness and restlessness and depression. And I think it is like a mechanism of subjugating the society. This kind of education where they do not tell us the syllabus, they do not tell us exactly how the exam will be. Everything is sprung on us like a surprise. And after 4 or 5 years of education, you do 3 years of BA, 2 years of MA, you are eager to contribute to the society and you are waiting for it, but you are told that no, you are no good. You cannot pass this exam, go. You are eliminated. So that makes me think, is it a means of waging a war on us? Is it a means of subjugating us? In many ways, the university is a scary, dangerous space because of the people who are outside the university trying to enter the university. I feel like the Kafkaesque castle. The university is the Kafkaesque castle. You know, only sometimes some people can enter and you have no way of knowing who will enter and why. So it is all related to, again, technology and speed. Technology and speed are both related to, they are determinants of our success, wealth, and power. We succeed, we become wealthy, we get power only if you pass certain exams, if you get certain degrees, and you do it at a great speed. Virilio's dromology focuses on instruments that accelerate and intensify speed. Speed is accelerated. Today only I was teaching in my Ernakulam center. I was teaching my students, and I was teaching pretty fast because it's a crash course and we have to cover the portions before the exam. And they were telling me, ma'am, you're teaching speed is too fast. We want you to go slow. And I said, speed is what we should attain. It is not like we should go slow, but we should learn to intensify speed. That is what the society wants us to be, like machines, not like humans. When you engage in this war model society, war model city, war model education, you become post-human. You stop being human. And this speed that we acquire will only augment the wealth and power of those groups that control us, the groups that control university education and the economic sector, etc. They become more powerful because we are catering to their needs and we are living there according to their requirements. Control and power is manifested as devices that accelerate speed as well as reduce speed. There are two ways in which power works upon us. There are two ways in which education or technology works upon us. One is to accelerate our speed. The other is to reduce our speed. Even when the apps that we use, the learning technology, the educational technology that we use accelerate our speed, things like the NET exam or, other qualifying exams that people write, they are ways of reducing our speed also, because we have to wait for a long time. As everybody realizes, education is not only about your merit, it is also in many ways about your luck, because it is exam oriented. If you have a headache on the exam day, if you could not reach the exam center on time, your merit is gone. You are out. So how democratic is it? You know, we have times when, many people could not write the NET exam because they announced the center just a few days before the NET exam, and people with women with children and family chores, etc., could not even travel to the distant exam centers and take the exam. So they are eliminated. Because why? They are not eliminated because they did not study or they do not have knowledge. They are eliminated because of social reasons, because of economic reasons also sometimes. So exams are a weapon wielded upon us. We should understand that when we prepare for these exams, they diminish our speed and productivity in many ways. For years, people spend their youth trying to pass exams while they should be contributing to the society. And lastly, I think this is all because, I'm arguing that this is all because the university works like a corporate. The university is a corporation, a corporate institution where there are only two foci. One is elimination. People are eliminated for the wrong reasons also, and not only the right reasons, and also the only focuses on productivity. They want only the rich people. They want only the metropolitan people. They want only the capable people to come and take this exam and pass this exam, and so this corporation that the university is a very dangerous thing, because universities have had centuries of tradition. They were there even before Renaissance occurred, and universities should not become corporations, because it is a means of dehumanizing people. It is a means of turning people into the post-human. So I was actually punning on this phrase, ideas that work, when I used this in the title. I did not really mean that I was going to tell you ideas that will work. I meant something else. Spinoza has written Ethics, if you remember, and his model of ethical life is very remarkable. It is a very useful idea for any age whatsoever. He talks about enhancing your potential, like Nietzsche also talked about, will to power, not in the technological sense, but in the sense of opening up to the possibilities of the world and your discipline. Doing things that work, doing things that create a change, doing things that can connect you with your society and the people, ideas that are shareable and practical, taking in the world, taking in this post-human convergence. Till now, we were talking about some of the scary aspects of post-humanism, but post-humanism is also about convergence. It is also bringing together so many disparate elements. It is about bringing together diverse perspectives. That convergence is also what is post-human. So that convergence is what we should focus on. Work in the direction of empathy and sharing, in the direction of fun and profit, and taking on a more democratic and shareable approach to education, making it more and more inclusive. Even in the, what is going to happen to all the people who are churned out by this factory of education? So many people getting admissions into so many courses. They're all sent out like mass-produced, products, and they're all out there spreading out, not knowing what to do with their education. What a useless thing education is sometimes becoming, because we are not focusing on channelizing human resource to productive domains. We are not focusing on doing something that will bring about a change, like Frankfurt School had talked about in their critical theory. Most of the time, think of all the papers that people are presenting and the conferences that are happening. What difference does it make to our lives? Does it make us better human beings? Does it make this world a better place to live in? that is a very important aspect of the human that this post-human society and post-human education is forgetting most of the time. So there are lots of people out there who are being crushed by this post-human politics and post-human media and post-human education. So many people who are being wiped out because they don't have access to what is happening in this world. So what about them, they who only stand and wait? Is education such a covetable thing anymore? Is education even necessary? Is that why in the West people have changed? They don't turn to traditional education as much as we do here. They just focus on work and doing things rather than sitting in colleges and getting degrees. So this is a rethinking of this discipline that we belong to. How can we improve our work, our contribution to this society? I thought being the first plenary that has been assigned to me, I'm very grateful for that. I thought this is the motivating thought that I should share with you, because there'll be lots of other papers that will be talking about the intricacies of the conceptual intricacies of post-humanism. But along with all that, we should ask ourselves these questions too. And what about those who only stand and wait? So that is the end of my talk. If you have questions to ask or comments, please share with me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was such a wonderful session by you. I now request the participants, the floor is open for questions. We had one question and it was like, ma'am, please suggest some books on post-humanism for better understanding.
There are so many books out there, very primary as well as advanced books on post-humanism. Paul Virilio himself is one who has talked about dromology and all that. And post-humanism is not just one thing either. What aspect of post-humanism you should research a little more, and it doesn't work like that anymore. You have a discipline and somebody will suggest books on it, and you read those books and you get an idea, complete idea of it. That is a very traditional approach. These days, disciplines do not work like that. Maybe, think about feminism or even post-colonialism, which are not so current. Even those disciplines are so much diverse. There are so many ways in which post-humanism has been looked at, so many implications that it has. So do not just go by some books that I will suggest or somebody will suggest. Do your own research. Identify what are the areas that you want to look at. Like that, please, get to know more about it. Do not ask people, give me a topic, give me a list of books, give me, some guidance. Get into the field and start reading, do research. That will make you a better scholar.
Thank you, ma'am. There's another question. Higher education requires intensive analytical skills. Not everyone is cut for research. It is problematic when you say that CUET and term exams do not work. How do you enable, guide people? It is definitely important that academic excellence yardstick should be overhauled. But to say that the economically disadvantaged are deliberately kept out is questionable. And conferences help build bridges to improvement, and it has happened. For example, with senior citizens. Do comment.
You have given a very valid point there. I did not mean anything that I said as overarching truths. Definitely you need qualifying exams. What I'm saying is that not that we should not have qualifying exams. What I'm saying is not that we should not maintain standards. What I'm saying is that there is a homogeneous thing called education. Everybody, irrespective of who they are, is given MA in English or BA in English or whatever degrees. And then after that, you are taking the cream out, and CUET and such exams are taking the cream out and giving them opportunities for research and other things. But the other people are not empowered. Education is most of the time going waste for them because they are under the impression that they should also be doing research. They don't know how to enhance their capability. They don't know what else to do. They are just eliminated and left to fend for themselves. So if you don't want everybody to do academic work, and if you cannot equip everybody to do academic work, which you cannot obviously, then why don't you change the educational system, where in a country like India, where thousands of people are searching for jobs, why don't you empower them? For example, in the field of English literature, apart from teaching and research, what else can we do? Is any course that we are doing empowering us towards that, except maybe some courses in some parts of the country? Majority of the courses are just homogeneous, just teaching literature after literary work after literary work after literary work, with giving the expectation to these students that they can be researchers, not really helping them to use their skills in any way, and then telling them you can't do research, you can't teach, go. The number of people who are depressed and dejected and on the verge of suicide is increasing, actually, because there is no choice for them. Whereas in the curriculum itself, if you could tell them what are the non-academic jobs that you can still do with this course, and why this course, how this course would help you to do that. You understand what I mean? That's what I meant.
There's another question. How can we approach dystopian readings from a post-humanist perspective?
That is not directly within the gamut of my talk. Dystopian works look at the basic questions of post-humanism. What is the human being? What are the limits of the human being? How does the human being cohabit with, what comes after? Dystopian novels are an illustration of many ideas of post-humanism. So if you read post-humanism and its various branches, you will see that many of these ideas are already there in cyberpunk fiction and dystopian fiction, etc.
There's a comment by Manu Mangatu, sir. He says, inspiring and energetic as always, Kalyani ma'am. You are evergreen, forever nourishing, forever enriching.
Thank you very much. Deeply touched.
Yes, another question. I'm trying to read post-humanism into Mary Shelley's Frankenstein for my research. Ma'am, kindly share your thoughts on this.
Manu Mangat, sir, would you like to comment? Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is definitely about the boundary between the human and the post-human. And I don't know why every lecture turns out to be a research, what can I say, whatever you want to ask about research session. It requires deep reading. I am not equipped to talk about Frankenstein and post-humanism, but I'm sure there are many ways in which the monster in Frankenstein challenges the human. There are, of course, challenges the human. And what I'm not equipped is which theory or which aspect of post-humanism can you apply. If you give me some time, I will do some reading on it and get back to you. You can get in touch with me.
There's one more question. How has electronic literature challenged notions of authorship and narrative structure? And what role does post-humanism play in shaping these narratives?
Electronic literature is, or any cybernetic writing, is challenging the supremacy of the author, the centrality of the author. Because in the think of the age of orality, orality was a time when there was no specific author. Everybody was an author. Whoever heard the stories or sang the songs was an author. And it is in the age of written literature, the static text, the printed text, the black and white text, age of the black and white text, that is when the author became important. And after that, in the cybernetic age, in the age of internet and digital writing, and the author again becomes less important. This lecture is the best example. You are all asking me questions. You are adding to the ideas. Your questions are also a part of the discourse that we are having here. When you watch a YouTube video, it is very important that you look at the comments also. So it is more democratic, and the single centrality of the author is no longer there. And that when the author is displaced, when the human being is displaced, there are other human beings coming in the example that I said. But technology has a big role in it, as you know. Technology can give you access to more interpretations and more engagement with the text that we can see in graphic novels and the new media and the new approaches, the new technical approaches to writing. So there, that the limitations of the human become posthuman. For example, you one day you might be able to read a novel and draw a painting about it, even though you're not a painter. You might be able to express yourself in painting, or you might be able to write a counter novel. That kind of text can also come, which is not about the human. It is about technology and the post-human also. So the limits of engagement with the text is not there anymore in this age of digital writing.
Right. I think there's this last question. As we are in a race of being an above average human being, would it damage the spontaneous creativity within people?
That age of transhumanism is past. We should not be in a race to become above average human beings. That is what I was saying. We should still connect with the human. The whole purpose of my talk was we should not race to become above average post-human. We should maintain our human element. It is important to think and connect and share. So we should not lose our creativity, because the technology is not going to be an equal replacement for our creativity. The human being is much more technologically advanced than any technology that we can come up with, I think. I'm trying to say that we have a creativity, we have certain human values that should not be lost in this so-called race. If it is there, it should not be there. Education should not turn into a race. But I'm saying that universities are turning education into a race. Universities are making us post-human unnecessarily. That is what I'm saying. And I was critiquing this.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That's all the questions for this session. It was really nice to have you here at AIFEST. Thank you so much.
I am immensely grateful that you gave me this opportunity. Wish you all the best, everyone. Thank you for your warmth, appreciation, love, and wish you great human years ahead. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, ma'am.